What's up, guys? Kyle Kraus, Fast Friends here. Welcome back to the show, episode number 3. Got a legendary athlete on hand here. Just a savage skater, put it on the map. Gnarly moto guy, rips at mountain bikes. What else?
Shoot, musician, artist, full-on inspiration to all. So we have Steve Caballero.
Yeah, buddy. Welcome.
What's up, Steve? How are you?
Thanks for having me, and stoked to be here.
Dude, we're pretty stoked to have you. Honestly, Jeremy was our last guest.
Yeah.
And then now you, and it's like kind of surreal. And I'm like, wow. It's like amongst the greats, you know?
Well, it's cool. I'm honored to be on a moto podcast. That means I'm being recognized as a motocross rider.
You going to San Diego Supercross this weekend?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Supercross and outdoors, and I had planned on going to every single race on the West Coast. Nice. I almost went to San Francisco, but I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, good thing you missed it.
Yeah, things came up at home that I just couldn't get out. But I plan on going to San Diego, A2, and me and Mike McGill, a teammate for me from the 80s, we're going to fly out to Arizona to go see that race.
I have a fun fact for you for San Diego Supercross.
Yeah.
My uncle won the 1980 San Diego Supercross. Mike Too Tall Bell.
Oh, wow.
That's my uncle.
Wow, that's awesome.
So a little
That's
flashback.
so cool. Yeah.
But I remember you riding even Star West Surfer Cross a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was out there motoing, and it was the day like Nathan Fletcher, I think, broke his leg or one of those guys. But I just remember the surfer dudes were sending it.
Oh, yeah.
Guys sending it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, be careful, everybody. Like, just everywhere. But
yeah,
that event's been so fun. I mean, this had to be 15 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to my association with motocross, so I got into it around 2000, got my first bike. I rode all the way up to 2005. And at that time, I was sponsored by Honda from 2003 to 2005. And I made that transition from 2-stroke to 4-stroke.
Oh, yeah.
So I was able to get their bike and, just try them out on the track and give them feedback. And so it was cool. It was a rad ambassadorship. And then around 2005, they decided that they wanted to end it. So they were going to take the bike back. Because Honda would give us a bike, and then we'd ride it for a year, and then take it back, give us a brand new bike. Mm-hmm. Take it back. And so they offered to sell the bike to me. But at that time, I was getting remarried. And I think Ernesto Fonseca had gotten paralyzed. And then like a local little kid died at our local track. And so all these things were kind of like popping up, and I was like, maybe it's time for me to kind of like chill on this, because I'm going to start a new family, and I just started to get this feeling in my heart like maybe God's telling me to just chill on it.
We've all been there as riders.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've been there multiple times.
Yeah. There was too many signs popping up. So when they took the bike back, I never bought another bike, and I just quit riding for like 7 years. I still watched it on TV, and I still attended some of the events. Especially in San Francisco, because I'm from up north.
Okay.
I didn't move down here until 2014.
From San Jose, right?
Yeah, I've been a NorCal guy my whole life. So I was up there for 49 years, and then decided to move 2014 to be in SoCal to finish.
When you first moved down here, where'd you move to? Carlsbad?
Carlsbad.
Cool.
The same house that I'm in now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I took a 7-year hiatus off riding dirt bikes completely. And then I have a good friend named Solomon Agaw, who has a pizza shop called Pizzanista. He's got one in LA, in Pasadena, and then in Japan. He was still an avid rider, and he talked me into getting a bike. So then this is around 2011, and I ended up calling Honda and saying, hey, I used to be, your ambassador 7 years ago. What can you do for a bike? Can I get a deal? Because everyone's looking for a deal all the time, right?
For sure.
So I'm like, oh, I'll try to use a connection here. And it wasn't much of a deal that they wanted to offer to me. So I ended up finding my old bike that I gave back that was a 2005 that was barely ridden, and I ended up getting it for like $2,200 off Craigslist. And so I bought that, and I just started riding again. And then from that, I transitioned into the KTM 350, which was electric start and a bigger bike. And and then so what was rad was, and another thing, the reason why I got a bike was because my kids now were old enough to be interested in it. And so I had old bikes that I had kept, and I had like a PW50, and I started my son out on that.
That changes everything, right?
It did, because then I had moto kids. So I had 2 kids, a daughter and a son, and I got them riding. So when I started riding again, we moved down here. Then I became a weekend warrior down here because Paula's so close.
Yeah, you're in the Mecca down here. So it's like, once you start, like it's going.
Yeah, and I was surprised. And moving down here was the best, move that I could ever do for my whole career, and to venture off into new ones, because for one, all the industries are in SoCal, and a lot of companies I ride for are located here, and the mountains are so close. You got mountain bike, you got moto, the skate community's huge, the surfing's really close, snowboarding's right there, the art community is huge, the music scene is incredible. So when I moved here, I was like, man, I should have moved here like 10 years before, you know? And my career just kind of just took off even more because I had so many more outlets that I could expand on. And for me, I just take advantage of my opportunities the best I can. And I like to see how far I could take it.
Yeah, you're taking all of them pretty far and doing it really well.
Thanks.
I mean, everything that you do, in my opinion, I'm just like, damn, that's cool. Like you make it look like your guitars, the artwork on your guitars, all the pieces of artwork that you did and you brought. We'll do some giveaway with that type of stuff. Speaking of your artwork, looking at all of it, so I'll tell you something. I'll see if it kind of like blows your mind a little bit. It's another uncle story here.
Okay.
A lot of your artwork and a lot of everything that you do, even like sitting on the motorcycles, the hats you wear, those hats you wear,
Paperboy caps.
To me, it's a little bit like Von Dutch inspired, right?
Yeah.
So
well, it's hot rod inspired.
Hot rod.
Yeah, because I was in the hot rod scene when I got into dirt bikes.
Okay.
I got into a car club at the same time because a guy that introduced me or took me riding for the first time, on his desk was all these different car magazines. And so, so then I started hanging out with him, started checking out all these like, custom culture cars and traditional hot rods from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
And so that's why my art kind of connects with that.
Right. So, and for sure, I'm seeing all that. Even a lot of your boards too, just like pinstripes, like the one in the Wahoo's over here in Encinitas. I took a picture of it the other day because I knew we were doing this, and it's just inspired. In my opinion, I just see the Von Dutch in a lot of your art, and Von Dutch is my grandma's brother. My grandpa, he raced late 50s, early 60s. Talked about this even with Jeremy, but a lot of his cars were like flying eyeballs on them, and he did a lot of the artwork on them. So
that's cool.
And then even that he would wear those same hats.
Yep.
He did a lot of like metal fabrication. Mm-hmm. He did
he raced for
a lot of cool stuff.
Carroll Shelby, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, he was the first man to race the Cobra. It's another thing we talked about in the last one with Jeremy, but he's the first man to race the Cobra for Carroll Shelby.
Cool.
So a lot of like cool history there. Grandpa was badass, dude. But
so when I got into hot rodding, I kind of researched that whole history with car builders back in the day, and also artists and stuff. And I actually got invited to an art show in Germany, and I went there with Big Daddy Roth's son, Dennis Roth, and he talked about hanging out with Von Dutch and other artists, back in the day, that they would all hang out together at
back in the day, like, were you aware of Von Dutch and that stuff, or?
No, I didn't know, and I didn't know that culture, that hot
Okay.
rod culture, until I got into hot rods.
Gotcha.
And so, they're when they're putting these magazines out, they're always talking nostalgia and where it came from, and it's just so
Yep.
people can kind of keep it alive. And so a lot of the artists that are interested in that scene, they research the past, and a lot of new artists, especially the Japanese artists, they respect what came before them. And so that's why a lot of stuff is inspired by that.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you always take from here and take from there, and you visualize this and into this, and that's, I connect with art as well, because that's how skateboarding is. Skateboarding is an art form where you take one trick and then you take another trick and you combine it together and you make your own trick up.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you mention, and I was watching a video, like the guys were at your house talking to you, and you were explaining how moto and skate correlate so much to you.
Yeah.
And I've ridden moto my whole life, never really skated too much, right?
Okay.
But I've skated enough to where I honestly didn't really see the correlation. But I hear you talking about it,
Yeah.
and I've been just watching a lot of your videos lately, just the Thrasher magazine videos and
Yeah.
certain videos when I'm not sure when it was, probably late 80s or mid 90s, early 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
But like when I watch you skate street and do all that, it really is like a moto style to me, because it's like really powerful.
Yeah.
And it's like just so like stable, like the way that you land and the way that, I don't know, I just feel a moto vibe from it. So when I hear you say that, I'm like, I get it, But how in your mind does that correlate? Like, what is the?
I think the connection is confidence and approach and a positive mental attitude when it comes to like doing any sport that's extreme or dangerous. Your focus has to be on point, because once you lose focus, then that's when you make a mistake and it can go bad.
It's when you get hurt.
It's when you get hurt, and you have to be a little cocky, in a way, and have a lot of confidence in yourself. And it has to come out like that, because I feel like everything that I do, 90% of it's mental. The 10% is the physical part,
Yeah.
the ability to do it. Like, you can have like the body and you can have the strength, but if your mind's not there, it ain't happening.
I heard
True.
a quote you said about riding moto. It's fun to be in control but out of control at the same time.
Yeah. And that's how skating is as well. You can correct yourself if you're that good.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Especially like when I learned how to jump on a dirt bike and I learned how to correct myself in the air, I'm like, whoa, this is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Like or if you're like, because I came from riding street before I got into dirt. So street is really grippy, and you're turning, you're gripping. And then when you get on a dirt bike, it's all loose, right? And you're all over the place. Your back end's going back and forth. But once you get good enough to control that drift, you're like,
Yeah,
you're out of control, but in
fluid
control.
motion, yeah.
It looks pretty bitchin'.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
the feeling, yeah.
The
it's
feeling is
just-
amazing. So when you learn how to control the bike on the ground and learn how to control the bike in the air, that's when you become a great rider, And for me, with skating, it just always felt good for me to land something smooth, like not sketched out or almost falling. And even though it's exciting to see someone almost crash and make it,
Yeah.
but to me, I would always bail until I knew I was going to land it perfectly. And if I land it kind of sketchy, I would do it over.
Yeah, that's what me and Kyle were talking about, your style. Very deliberate. Like, when you make a move, you stick it. Like, it's not like this big old sketchy movement.
It's like the way you stick it with the power and the style. Like, to me, I'm just like,
It's like how
there's
you
something
see it
about
in your
that.
head.
It's
You
different.
like make it reality.
Clearly, a lot of people think that, or
Well-
think something special there.
It's like art, and I just want it to look good. And, art's very subjective. Some skater style look better to other people. So that's why it's always been super hard to judge a skateboard contest, because it's all subjective to the person looking at it, what they want to see. With racing, it's like you're crossing the finish line first, you know. So there's no doubt that dude won.
Yeah, it is what it is.
You can never argue the guy crossing the
But
the checkered flag.
You got 5th place in a contest, and then got picked up by Powell, right? Is that
Yes.
the story?
Yeah.
So, and you got 5th.
Yeah.
And so 1 through 4 got overshadowed, and the 5th place guy was the guy.
Yeah,
That's
that was
kinda-
Stacy Peralta's vision
Yeah.
from Powell Peralta. He didn't. I think he looked past my placing. He looked at me as how short I was, you know, because I've always been pretty small for my age. So I always looked a lot younger because of my height. And so he just thought that I had a lot of power and determination and a lot of grit, you know. And he could see it in my skating. And that's who he wanted to have on his team. He was putting this team together in 1979. And he saw me skate. He had never seen me skate before. I'd seen him in the magazine for years because he was a top professional rider in the late 70s. He rode for Dogtown, Zephyr. Or actually, he rode for Zephyr, then he rode for GNS and traveled the world as a pro. And then he quit being a professional skateboarder and wanted to start a company. He hooked up with this gentleman named George Powell, and they formed Powell Peralta. And Stacy just had a vision of building this team of skaters, amateur skaters across the U.S., and just make a huge impact in the sport. And I was from NorCal, me and my buddy, and he picked both me and Clay Townsend to ride for the team and to represent Northern California. And the rest is history. I've been on that team for 45 years.
That's the only team you've been on.
Yeah,
Same.
never quit, pal.
Wow,
awesome.
that's legit.
Yeah.
Nice. You mentioned contests too, and Jeff and I were talking earlier.
Yeah.
There's some about like how long, because I was watching the 9 Club obviously too with you, and I watched through that and heard you talking about how like back in the day it wasn't the photos and the filming, it was like you were ranked based on your contest and your results.
Yeah.
And like how long standing of like podiums you just had, and you were always
Yeah, I read something that
wins and
said
podium,
from 1970 to like 2010, you've got like a podium every year. So I don't know about the stat; it might be a little off. But
Yeah, those stats are definitely off.
yeah,
little off.
I was thinking.
You know, I mean, I grew up in competition. Even before I was a sponsored skateboarder, our local skate park was Campbell Skate Park in Campbell, California. And they were a family-oriented skate park that wanted to do something for the community and the kids around. So they formed these competitions every weekend to get kids to come and compete against each other and win prizes. Like you could either win more skate time, because there was no such thing as free public parks. Every skate park built in the late 70s, you had to pay to get in. And so you had to buy a membership, and then you had to pay for 2-hour sessions, or you could pay all day. So nothing was free back then.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
And so that was an incentive for me to get more free skate time, maybe win a board in the pro shop, maybe win ice cream from the snack bar, you know. And I even have a little list. Dude, I have a list written on a lined paper of my first contest I ever entered, all the way up till I got sponsored by Powell Peralta.
And then your first contest was 1980, 16 years old, Gold Coast skate tournament?
That was my first pro contest.
First pro contest.
Yeah, my first skateboard contest was probably 1978.
Okay.
And I think I skated in the half pipe. You know, they 1 week they'd have the half pipe competition, then they have the bowl competition, then they have the mogul bowl competition, and I would just try to, learn tricks and try to perform and win prizes. And one of the main prizes was getting on the Campbell Skateboard Park team. Once you got on that team, you got to skate Campbell Skate Park for free.
Oh.
And then you got products that was sponsored by Santa Cruz Skateboards. You got free boards, free wheels,
Oh, wow.
free trucks.
You're flowing.
So I was just like,
You're
whoa,
flowing at
like,
that point.
yeah.
Like,
So
I'm
I was
doing that.
hyped. I
Yeah.
was like, man, I want to get on the Camel team.
Yeah.
And so I worked hard as a little kid to get a skill in skateboarding. And so that taught me how to have a work ethic and how to perform and how to better myself to get things that, weren't always available to me. I would take the bus by myself all the way from the east side of San Jose to the west side, which was like 20, 30 minutes. Then my mom would pick me up at the end of the night, but I'd skate there, and I met this whole group of new people at the park, and it just became my second home.
Yeah.
And so it really taught me a discipline of like performance-based achievements,
Yeah.
And then that's one thing led to another, and it landed my sponsorship from Pal Peralta in '79, and then later turned pro in 1980.
Oh, what up, dude? Yeah. Oh, we got a buddy here. I think you guys are mutual friends. Mike Emery.
Yo,
Moto-
Mike.
What's
What's
up, Mike?
up? Oh, man.
How are you? I want to pop out.
Dude, long time no see.
First guy to crash the show or what?
You are the first crasher.
What are you doing
How
in
we
town?
Here for Supercross for the month.
Oh.
But yeah, I've known Kyle forever, and then he told me here you're having you around. I'm like, I got to come crash the show.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good to see
Yeah.
you, man.
Good to see you too.
Did you bring a skateboard with you?
I just bought one actually. I brought wheels somehow. Usually it's trucks.
Yeah,
but I wanted to try new trucks. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. So
Yeah.
bought a board yesterday actually. So
Awesome.
yeah, Kyle and I've known each other forever. It seems like, but I met you through Moto.
Yeah, for sure. And the story that I have with him is we were at Mammoth Motocross one year, and we were just kind of all hanging out, and it was like, oh, let's go to the skate park. There's a fun skate park up there in Mammoth. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm thinking Emery's bringing a bike or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, wait, like, he's just moto photographer, and we get there and grabs a skateboard and starts ripping. I'm like, what? You know how to do all that? Like, it's fun to watch. So
No.
It's kind of rare in Moto, I think, too. Like, there's skateboarders in Moto too, but to someone to actually have put in a lot of time to skateboard and be like, oh, that guy's like, hey, he's a skateboarder. Like, it's a little different,
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
But I've been to Mammoth, and I've raced Mammoth, but I never went to I never went to the skate park. I've heard about the skate park. I've seen stuff, but I didn't actually bring my board. I brought a bike.
How was your race experience in Mammoth? I've raced Mammoth quite a few times and love it up there.
It was gnarly. I crashed on the first turn.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's a gnarly first turn to crash.
Yeah, I
Like
learned.
on the uphill, like over.
We didn't even get to the uphill. It was over the hump and going to start making a left. And I learned a huge lesson about racing. And I didn't think it would ever happen to me. But I was in the middle with 40 other dudes. And when the gate dropped, I pinned it. And some guy was nudging over on me. So I'm like, oh, he's nudging me. I better go over it this way. So I start going to the right. And then those guys are coming
over.
And they just rammed into me. I flew off my bike, and guys, like about 7 guys just ran over my bike. My bike was like totaled.
What year was that?
It was like 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
And-
recent.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I got like my chest protector cracked. It cut my chest open. And I'm like, whoa, I never thought I'd be in a first turn pileup. Like, we didn't even like make it to the first turn. It's like over the hump, and it crashed right there. Didn't even make it up the hill.
That's right when everyone kind of starts to come together, and you kind of got to start turning, and it's also when everyone starts hauling ass.
Yeah,
So
we were at top speed.
Yeah.
And so I learned a big lesson. If someone's nudging you, you just lean back on them. You
for
don't
sure.
go. My first instinct was like, oh, okay, I'm in your way. I'll go this way. And these like 20 other dudes just rammed me.
Did you end up being okay, or like did you have a?
I was done for the day.
Done
I
for the
was
day,
over,
but you didn't
yeah.
have any major injuries. It was just
Just my chest and I think I hurt my wrist, and my bike was totaled. Yeah,
So,
it punched.
was
They
that
punctured
was
a
that
hole in my oil case
Okay.
and was
I've
leaking
shot a lot
oil.
of crash photos in that spot at Mammoth.
Really?
Yeah.
How many years yard
That's
sales?
brutal,
At least once a
dude.
day.
That's brutal.
It's a
Every
hectic
time
first
I've
corner.
done a start there,
Yeah.
I'm like, let me get the jump, dude. If I
Yeah.
get a little jump, at least you can, kind of get out there and.
So that was my second moto, the second day. My first moto, the first day, I get on the line. My friend pushes me up on the line. He's like, dude, you have a flat. And I'm like, are you serious? So I'm like, oh, what do I do?
Where's your
Right.
ambassador program? Get a new tire. Get a new.
Well, the gate was about to drop.
Yeah.
So I'm like, can you just get my start and I'll just go up the hill and I'll just turn around.
Oh,
So the tire's flat. And so I go up the hill, start going up, come down. I'm like, I can actually still ride the bike. So I rode it, and I just rode the whole thing about 80% with a flat tire, the whole moto, and still like qualified for the second day
oh, nice,
on a flat.
nice.
Yeah. And then
It was
after
kinda
that,
fun, probably actually.
it was, but it
Little
was, I could
something.
feel the thing like kind
Yeah.
of like sliding back and forth. And I was bummed that I couldn't go like as fast as I wanted to go. But the fact that I said, as I came down, up and came down, I'm like, oh, I can still ride the bike. Just keep it straight, and just try not to like pin it too much. And I ended up finishing the moto.
That's pretty interesting to me. I can't believe that you just kind of kept going and we're like, it's working, so we're going.
Well, it was just, he's like, my friend just like, let me just take you off the start. It's your first race.
Yeah.
So let me just take you off the start. I'm like, all right, I'll go for it. Whatever. What do I have to lose? Like, and then I just kept going and finished.
That's cool. When did you guys meet? Like, what's your history? Because I know
I
you said you've been to his
remember-
house, skated at his house.
Yeah, we
almost.
became friends, but it was through Transworld because like I moved here to Carlsbad from Northern California, which is funny because we have that connection without even really knowing. I've never
Yeah.
really met you up there.
Well,
but I rode.
Where in NorCal did you
I was
live?
in the Bay Area. Like I was
Okay.
in Berkeley and Oakland for like 5 years.
Oh, okay.
But I rode San Jose. What's it called? The fairgrounds track.
Oh, yeah.
408.
408.
Yeah, I rode there first. Like that was when I bought a bike. So, anyways,
Oh, right.
I rode there, but I never really knew you up there. But I worked at Transworld, moved down here, and I ended up staying at our friend's house. But I was like just trying to find stuff to cover, like whatever, like working at Transworld, the photo editor. But we had to do articles. So, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go to Skatercross. Like I'm a crossover skateboarding and motocross. Like let's do that. I could
Yeah.
go. I like get a fun day of that, right? So, and I reached out to you and it was you and Solomon through like we ended up meeting you at Stance or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just did a little interview with them about it because I was like, and it helped you guys like promote a little.
Oh, we were doing the
So-
Skatercross.
Yeah,
right?
Skatercross. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so I anyways it met you through that, and then we just were like, it's a pretty small world, like you describe, like anyone describes it. So we did. I covered Skatercross, and then we became friends, and just small world. We lived near each other and skateboard ride. Then we ended up racing Day in the Dirt together.
That's pretty cool. What an organic way to connect and then connect on moto too. It's cool.
Well, like you said, me and my buddy, good friend, and also old teammate, Solomon Aga, we both have the same passion for skating and motocross. And we had seen this event called Supercross. And we're like, why don't we kind of do our own thing called Skatercross and get skateboarders who ride together? And we would have it more casual and not a race, just kind of a get together. And we'd spend a whole weekend riding. So one of our first things that we did in around 2000, I think it was 2004, was our first Skatercross. We rode for like 4 days straight, and we went to different tracks. And I think we started off at Paris Raceway, or it was either Paris, and then we did Lake Elsinore, and then we did Star West, and then we ended up at Gorman.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was beat by the end of that whole trip. And then we skated in between. We'd go to different skateboard parks and stuff. But every year after that, we ended up doing this thing called Skatercross, and then that's so when I met you is when I got back into dirt bike riding, and we wanted to start Skatercross again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun.
I think it was around 2012 or 2013.
It was probably even later than that, but I think. But I
Was it 2000s?
remember when we did it once where we went to the barracks for one day, and it was random though. It was like
Yeah.
Milestone in the barracks
Yep.
but I forget. I think I covered it twice. But it was just cool to like link up with skateboarders. And to me, like being a kid from Pennsylvania, like East Coast raised, like always into skateboarding, into motocross too. But skateboarding was like my life. So I was living in Carlsbad, right up the street from Carlsbad High School. Like I'm just like, that's crazy because that's iconic for me as a kid. Like, you just see it. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, somehow now I'm just buddies with Steve Caballero. Like but it's just organic, like where life takes you. So it's cool. And now we would go ride now, but my bike's there. But
And
cool.
Don had always been a very huge supporter of the Skatercross. I think he would come out and cover it.
Nice.
And do interviews with us, and so I've always had a long connection with Fox Racing, and
Cool.
they would give us swag and we'd give it out, and it came out like it was such a fun time to connect skateboarders with motocross riding.
That's awesome. One of the things we're giving away with Cab's giveaway on the show is this Fox jersey right here. We'll get him to sign that thing before he leaves.
For sure.
And we got some other cool stuff too, you'll see. But okay, so since you guys are buddies and you've been hanging out, I'm sure you got some cool shots of the guy, right?
yeah, like we ended up we've done some fun little ride days too. I think one of the memorable ones to me was when I think it was right after Trans World kind of got clipped, and I ended up riding with you out with like Jared McNeil's place. Remember that?
Yeah.
I think that was around that time, and
Yeah.
I was kind of like, dude, I had a new kid, and I was like, man, but it was a really fun like way to just like cruise out. I think that was around that time.
Mike McGill came out with us as
Yeah,
well.
we had a fun squad, and we just like ripped. It was like fresh SoCal rain, and we rode,
Oh yeah.
Jared brought us around. Like it was sick.
And I think one of the photos is the one that Toyota Escondido used for the poster.
Oh yeah, you're like
For
ripping
the
a berm.
signing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but it's cool.
That's his photo.
It's sick. Yeah,
Which
like
I'm supposed to be at that event tonight, and I said no to it to be on the podcast.
hey, there you go.
Sorry, Dan.
shout
Wait,
out.
wait, you're talking about that photo that you just recently posted?
So the photo. So I did this signing at Toyota Escondido
Gotcha.
a couple years ago,
Okay.
and Dan Mahanagran wanted to have a photo of me so I could sign with all the
Gotcha.
other motocross legends, and so I used one of Mike's.
Nice.
Yeah, that's cool. We've had some fun times, like skating your ramp. I shot some skate photos of you, but I'll have to share some with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
just
should have
like-
brought that post. I was thinking about bringing that post. I should have brought that post. Everybody cool. I still can get it to you.
Nice. It'd
Yeah.
be cool to see it. Yeah. So since you guys are hanging out and you guys are cross-pollinating these two sports of moto and skate, do you ever share any secrets for him with moto and kind of go like, because I'm sure you can share some little tidbits with him with skate. Like, you guys ever connect like that?
For me, I think this is my best like description of our relationship. I am on the inside like of moto, you know, and he sees me. He'll send me a message like, "Hey, I saw you on TV." You know what I mean? And like, I'm not supposed to be on TV, but like, I'm at every race shooting photos. So like,
I
I'm
see
just
you
there.
every weekend, Mike.
Yeah, try not to be on it. Don't tell the TV guys. No, but anyways, like, I'm so ingrained in the world that you love, and you love skating too. But like, that's you've done everything in skating. So moto's more fresh, I think, to you. And it's like, he could just ask me stuff that's like, I know, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. But like through skating, I think it's just, we've hung out with a lot of people that are talented at both, and but it's fun to see the stoke he has for moto. Like, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean,
And
skating
we've
speaks
raced
for
together.
itself.
We raced Day in the Dirt, and Mike asked me to be his teammate.
nice.
I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I got to pull in a ringer.
And
But
that
I
was
think, actually, you know what I remember from that race, and you probably don't remember, or do you? But I came around one lap, the finish line. Somehow I'd like ate it in either the rut or whatever, and just totally like just grenaded myself. Visor pops off, like magnetic visor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this race is not that important. I'm getting that visor, dude. So I stopped. I turned around. I'm like, sorry, Cav. I hope he doesn't get
Sorry.
Like, I came back
Gotta get
around
my
with the
visor.
visor in my hand. You're like, you good? I'm like, dude, just go, man. I'm all right. But, like, I did go get the visor, though. Like, I was like, he's going to call me out.
Did you just snap it back on? Was it good?
Yeah, it was a magnet, dude. Just put
Nice.
it back on.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're in a really heated race, you're not getting your visor. But I was like, dude, it's stay in the dirt.
I wonder if
Like,
Hunter
nothing-
Lawrence is going to start pulling over and picking up his visor.
Maybe that's the secret, because I think we won that day, I'm pretty sure. Look at the record books,
Yeah.
for sure.
I've always heard about that race, and it was cool to participate in that, you know.
Nice.
So yeah, we've had some great times together.
That's fun, man.
Nice.
Yeah,
More to
but
come.
bummed that he moved, you know,
Yeah.
because it was always cool to hook up, either maybe do a skate thing or something, and then it's cool to be like, hey, Mike, maybe we can get to go to the track and get some photos.
I know, it's fun.
Well, it's cool. He's been out here for a little while now, and maybe we can just get you staying out here more often because
It's the goal.
you
I
got
want
to
to
come
be
back.
bi-coastal. That's my ultimate.
Are you
Oh,
always
spot,
gonna?
so.
Are you ever gonna move back to California, or do you want to live?
I mean, yeah, I want
Yeah.
to, but we're like right now it's been great, and like our kids, like are with my my parents, like, so they're just like stoked on that.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's a good time for them to be home and around. And I like this. I told her when I'll get older, like I want to be just the guy just at the beach.
you need that support, man.
Yeah.
For having kids, I mean, I have kids myself, so that mom and dad support is a blessing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man.
I'll let you guys get back to it.
Yeah. Thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate you guys.
Small world.
Small world, dude. Mikey just down the street. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
funny. We met at the races way back when, and it's like we've organically became friends just because he was living right 1 block away for
Yeah.
a couple of years, and he liked surfing, so we were surfing a bunch. And
Awesome.
yeah, and then it's good to have you back, Jim.
Hey, thanks,
Welcome
man.
back.
I'm back.
Welcome
How was your
back.
break?
I just went.
Where'd you
had
go? Was it a bathroom break?
Yeah, I had a beverage, a little bathroom break. Text my mom. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Chris Bell. Love
Yeah,
you.
Chris Bell.
All right.
Um,
Mama Bell, happy
Mama
birthday.
Bell. Yeah. But shoot, let's jump back into Moto Supercross. I mean,
Sure.
it's the season right now, so
Exciting.
kind of curious. Like, who's your favorite rider, current racer?
James Stewart. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard after he left the scene. It's hard to have a favorite.
God, that guy's
And he
good.
was my favorite. I just want to give him props because he's the only rider that I ever went to a race and got nervous for.
Oh yeah, watching him.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I would get
He's
nervous.
so
I would
fast.
be like, I was such a fan that he would crash. I'm like, oh, did I cause that?
My energy.
You know what I mean?
You gotta apologize.
Yeah,
after the
like,
race. I'm
oh
sorry.
man.
That is classic.
That's how hyped I was on him. I really wanted him to do so well.
It was win or
know.
crash a lot
Yeah.
of times. And you
And-
gotta
but,
respect that.
You got to respect every part of how he did it, bro. It's like crazy.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that I felt my emotions when I'd watch one of my favorite riders either crash. I'd be stoked when he won, but I'd be super bummed when he didn't. So I didn't kind of like it was nerve wracking,
Yeah.
you know. And I feel like nowadays I don't really get as nerve wracked of the placings and the riders because I don't really know if I have a favorite, you know, like that. There's no one will ever leave an impression on me like him and Ricky Carmichael.
Oh God, they were
You
just
know.
beasts, man.
Yeah, but currently, obviously, I because of Cowie, and because Jason Anderson is such a cool dude. Like, I've met him at Paula before, and he's just so down to earth. Like,
Yeah,
he reminds me of a skateboarder. Just his whole
he
personality.
really
the way
does. Kind of dresses like one.
He does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so when I connected with him, I didn't really have a connection like with Eli Tomac. It's just different vibe, when I met him. And Cole Seeley, same thing. Super cool dude, down to earth.
Yeah. They're into some
Cole-
other stuff besides just
Oh man,
motorcycles.
Aaron
Yeah.
Plessinger, another down to earth dude.
Awesome.
Like those guys, I'm like, if they felt like skate buddies, but there's been some other people that I look up to, but not as friendly, not as social.
Jason and I have actually hung out quite a bit. Like, became pretty good friends for a while, and it's hard to keep staying friends when he has a career like he does, and then I moved down here, start surfing and stuff. But
Yeah.
I actually almost moved into his house in Florida, out in Claremont, out there. I'd
Oh,
go
right.
out and spend time with him out there. He broke his collarbone, and me and him and Keaton Ward, his really good friend, the three of us just took a random flight down to Cabo and went down and partied for 3 days, and then we had to get back because it was kind of getting crazy. But he's just always been such a cool dude.
He's
and-
cool. He's a cool down to earth guy. And then like in the 250s, obviously I was rooting for Joe Shimoda, another Cowie guy that switched to Honda.
Yeah.
But still, I would say he's probably one of my favorites. I really like Deegan's son.
Yeah.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, I
Incredible.
just love because I used to ride Paula with him. I rode the vet track when he's on a little 65.
Yep.
Dicing with him and to see where he's come so quickly.
Yeah, it's not that many years ago.
No, it's amazing, and I just love his passion and his grit, and I just love his determination.
And he's really good and just fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's just they have a very interesting dynamic as a family, and I love how supportive Brian is of him and how much effort and how much time he's put into his son, and his son's kind of paying back by the results, you know. So all that hard work is paying off for that Deegan family.
I'm a fan. I'm a
yeah,
fan
I'm
of the
a-
Deegan kid, man.
Yeah. When it comes to Jet Lawrence, you know, I didn't really truly believe the hype, you know, because when he came out swinging, a lot of the fast dudes weren't there.
They weren't there, yeah.
You know, so I was like, it's all hype, you know. He's not that good. And then he proved me wrong.
He keeps going.
You know, the fast guys started showing up at these races, but they weren't getting the results, you know. And I'm like, man, after a while, I was like, they're kind of all here. He's like the real deal, you know, which is really cool. And I'm proud of him as well for his determination and how far he's gotten. And sometimes the sport needs a person like that to just come in and just blow doors on the guys that are there. Because I don't know. It's different with skating and motocross. I feel like skating guys, when they get to the top, they can kind of chill out and wherever their career's going. But I feel like with moto, I don't think you can chill because you can lose your ride
you're
in a
racing.
second.
So if you had to go, like, just talking like about these guys, and then just say this year in general, because we're like right in the heart of the start of the 2024 Supercross series, and looking at like what you've seen so far, like if you had to pick, like, all right, we're placing bets. Who are you picking to win the 450 Supercross championship?
Jet Lawrence.
Jet Lawrence. Who are you picking?
Eli Tomac.
All right, I'll pick Ken Roxon.
Well, see, and this is, and so, like I said, I'll go back to my favorite, James. I loved that he would crash first turn and work his way all the way up, and win the race. I think maybe Jet can do that too. That will make the race exciting. But when guys kind of like get the haul shot and lead and no one's passing, it's pretty much boring.
Yeah.
Like I could take off and go home,
Yeah.
you know, after the first lap, and it'd be the same result.
Yeah.
You know, you want to see dicing. You want to see guys push it. And I feel like when the guys get the whole shot and run away with it, it's really a boring race.
It is, yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
so I just hope that Jet doesn't get whole shots all the time.
Yeah.
I hope that he either crashes first turn, because I want to see him do what James did. It's exciting,
Whoever
you know.
flattened your tire at Mammoth before your race, just pull that same trick on him.
No, I
Obviously,
don't.
sabotage.
I don't want anyone to
The
crash.
ambassador was sabotage.
I don't want anyone to crash, but it's just more exciting to see a really fast guy have to work super hard to get past and get it. It just makes the night more exciting.
Right.
So obviously the mud races are exciting because you don't know who's going to win or who's going to crash the next turn, because they could be ripping and all of a sudden they go around a turn and they're on the ground
Yeah.
in a second. So that was, you know, even though they hate the mud racing,
Yeah.
it's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't look like it that much fun to be out there, but it's
no,
fun to watch.
I've ridden in mud too, so it's not that easy. And when your bike falls, it sticks to the ground. And so like you're trying to pick your bike
And then-
up and it's heavy.
Yeah.
So,
And then your gloves are all muddy, and then it's just like, oh, great.
Yeah.
So the whole key in riding in mud, like there's certain guys that are really good at it, and it's
yeah.
definitely just staying up and keeping those hands clean and things like that.
Just hold your line, stay up, and you could win without pushing it super hard. Because the fastest dude could be on the ground in a second.
Chase
you know.
Sexton was impressive in that mud. How about that start?
Dude.
Oh yeah,
It
not
looked
letting.
like he went and the gate decided to go because he was coming for it. Like,
Oh, yeah,
it
he-
was-
yeah,
He
yeah.
said he lucked out.
He
Like,
did,
Really?
and
Yeah,
you can see it. He
said
started going.
Flinched, he thought the gate went. It didn't, and then he's like, "As I committed,
Wow.
and it fell."
Yeah.
And he was 10 feet ahead of.
And then there was
everyone.
another guy that maybe did the same thing, got stuck.
Rocks installed it in the first turn.
Oh,
And
wow.
went dead last all the way back to third.
Yeah.
which
Pretty
was
good.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I'm impressed with Ken Roxon as well.
We
The
love
fact that
Ken
he's
Roxon.
still, out of all the injuries that he's gotten, and he's still pushing it and still has a lot of heart. He wants to win, you know, and
Good style.
so it's just I was super excited of the series because there's a lot of heavy hitters, and you know, there's been some seasons that there wasn't a lot of fast guys, and guys just kind of ran away with the title, with not being challenged, you know. But I feel like this year, I think both classes, 250 and 450, there's a lot of great talent out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but like years ago, I would only be excited for the 450 class and didn't really care about the 250 class.
Sometimes the 250s save the night now.
Yeah.
It kind of shifts.
Yeah, sometimes I've seen the mains, the 250 races, a lot more exciting than the 450 main.
What's your thoughts on the whole free ride thing? Like our first guest was Tyler Behrman on this show. He's a good friend of mine and like just awesome. But like, what's your whole? Because it's a little more skate almost style in a way. It's a little more free.
I mean, the free riding obviously started with the whole Crusty Demons and the Metal Militia deal back in the early 90s. With Brian Deegan and Larry Linkogel and Tommy Clowers and all those guys that were, jumping those metal ramps and just doing free riding and just making these videos with all the music that I loved, the music and the riding, and just the whole aspect of looking at an industry with a different creative look and not all about racing. But it reminds me of street skating.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where do you think they got the idea from?
I don't know.
It's skate videos.
Skate videos.
That's what those are on dirt bikes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So freestyle or free riding reminds me. They're like the street skaters of skateboarding, and I just I love how far they've taken it. I love the creativity they have with building hits out. In the hills and even like private backyard compounds that guys have.
Putting together. Yeah. It's cool
like
to see
Axel
that.
Hodges' place.
Axel's place is awesome.
Jared McNeil's.
Yeah.
Robbie Madison's place. And Larry Linkogel's place and Nate Adams had a place as well. All down here, Temecula, Murrieta. I mean, there's a market for that. There's guys that are just not into like racing, but just showing the beauty of the sport, and whether it's captured on film, whether it's captured in a photograph, or in a video, it does help sell the sport, and so you need both, and I'm stoked that these guys have been able to make careers out of it. But on the flip side of that, the things that they do are pretty insane and very dangerous. So
high risk.
Yeah. I mean, even guys trying to jump it as far as they can on a dirt bike.
Yeah.
Trying to break the records from each guy, trying to push it further and further. And obviously that comes from Evel Knievel, the long distance jumping. So a lot of guys grew up having the same role models as I did, so before I got into skateboarding, Evel Knievel was like a huge role model for me, an icon, and like I rode BMX bike before I got a skateboard, and I tried in the mid 70s I tried to make my bike look like a motorcycle and sound like a motorcycle.
Put a card with a paper clip.
Yeah. And have the plastic tank over on the crossbar there, and have like a number plate, because BMX racing was popular, and also like free riding BMX was popular at the time.
So a little bit of BMX racing history. It also ties in with like the Von Dutch history in this helmet. Yeah. Blake, you want to grab that Von Dutch helmet? This helmet is my great uncle Von Dutch who painted it.
Okay.
For my uncle, who's my grandma's son, but not my dad, right?
Okay.
Obviously. He was a lot younger than my dad, but see the Anthony on the side?
Yeah.
So his name was Anthony Reyes. And you guys kind of actually remind me of each other in a way.
Really?
Like you'll have to look this guy up, and I'm going to get him on, do a podcast with him eventually, but Anthony was like a huge inspiration to me growing up, right? There's just my dad's brother, older, uncle that a little older than me, but he rode for like Factory GT, rode for Boss Bikes back in the day, like Brian Lopes and all these guys know who he is.
This is amazing.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
It looks safe too.
But yeah, this is he gave me this helmet when I was a kid.
Wow.
He rode for like a lot of the top BMX teams, and I want to say from I don't know, 10 all the way until he was like 16 or something. Mm-hmm. He was just won everything, dude. And
his name was
Anthony Reyes.
Anthony Reyes.
And I mean, he traveled all over the United States and the world racing BMX bikes, you know?
Was this mid-70s?
No, this is early 90s probably.
Oh, okay.
Late 80s, early 90s.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, and so
I feel like
I need to actually I've been trying to contact him for a while because he hit me up a while back and asked me, "Hey, do you still have that helmet?" And it was probably
I want my helmet back.
it was probably 15 years ago that he
Yeah.
hit me up, and then I've lost touch with them, and I haven't been able to. I'm like trying to look him up, and they finally this was at my mom's house in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
And I found, I'm like, dude, I got to get this thing back. So now here it is. And I recently came across him on Facebook, and I'm going to tap into that. And
Wow.
so anyways, just kind of cool. You could see the Von Dutch signature, 1985.
That's
there.
incredible.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Look how hammered it is. I hammered that thing when I was a kid, didn't really think of it. And then now I'm like, at least the eyeball's not damaged too much, you know?
That's amazing. That's super cool.
So you're still currently, how many times do you ride a week, you'd say? Or a month?
Dirt bikes?
Yeah, dirt bikes.
Well, we used to have this group called the Moto Mondays.
Yeah.
And I designed this logo based off the Metal Militia logo.
I was gonna say when you mentioned that, it looks like a militia deal.
I love doing parodies of things with my art. And I just thought it was funny, you know. And so it kind of dwindled down over the years. Guys have crashed and gotten hurt and stopped riding. Guys have sold their bikes. So I'd love to have it start up again, you know, because Mondays are great at Fox Raceway. There's barely anybody there. And so we used to get together every Monday, you know. And so I would at least ride at least once a week, you know. It just really depends. Like, I plan my day out based on what's happening and if there's people in town. And, you know, I got so many things I'm involved with, you know, with whether it's skateboarding, mountain biking, moto, art, music, taking care of my kids. I have to balance all this out. So I have a calendar of certain things, a band practice, you know.
Yeah.
I have art night on Tuesday nights. We get artists to get together, you know, and so it's always different, you know. But the main thing that I feel is I need to get back to is skating more. I feel like that's suffering from not spending much time in it. And so, unfortunately, the things that I'm into, they're dangerous and you can get hurt. And I've gotten hurt a lot on mountain bikes recently because it's very easy to crash.
I saw you go down today, Cab.
Yeah, you just rode with Kyle this morning at Vail. You guys both made it in one piece. So
Well, that's
Thanks
what we
for the
did.
invite.
We were leaving the thing. We're like, no one went down. It's a good day.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
was a good day.
Yeah.
When nobody crashed.
So that was fun riding with you, and
Yeah, it was a good
it
time.
was cool, you know. And that's the reason why I'm on this podcast is because he was a part of a ride that we went on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
With a bunch of other, you know, people who love mountain bikes, and then Kyle reached out, you know, and said, "Hey, do you want to be on the podcast?" And I'm a person who I'm like Jim Carrey on the Yes Man.
Yeah.
I say yes a lot.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like every opportunity that presents itself, it leads to another opportunity. And if I live my life saying no to everything, I never know what can come out of it, you know?
Yeah.
So saying yes to the podcast, I got to see Mike. I wouldn't have seen Mike at all this whole trip probably, you know? And so that was awesome. And
we're super thankful that
we
you
really
say yes
appreciate
and that
you
you're
doing
here.
yeah, man. Like I said, I don't have a 9 to 5, so I make my own rules and how much I want to spend on what, you know, and so it changes all the time. So it's really, you know, I never know what I'm gonna do.
When I hit you up and then we were talking and you, we you know solidified the date and time, and then shortly after you text me and said, I'm doing or shooting for the film documentary stuff Monday, riding moto, Tuesday skate, and then we're doing this day. And then I'm thinking, dude, yeah, he's got kids, he's got this, got that. I'm like, God, this guy must have a pretty stacked calendar, and he's got to be organized because you are like spread thin,
I do. And the only reason why we rode mountain bikes today is because Taka said, hey, Cab, I want to ride Vail with you on Thursday.
And you said,
do you want to ride? And I
Yes.
said, yes. Yeah. So, I got to ride, and then I knew that I could squeeze in a mountain bike ride before this podcast that was going to start at 5:30. And so that's how I planned my day.
And it was cool to connect with you in the morning before you're here, because you and I have never really, I've been around you and seen you, but honestly, I was kind of like, damn, Steve Caballero. And I never really like kind of connected and was able to meet you. So it was awesome connecting with you today. And I also invited Randy out there,
so he came with you.
Well, and because you were like, oh, these are the guys coming. I'm like, I might invite someone too. And I thought, man, I love riding mountain bikes with Randy. I've known him for a long time. So I invited him. And then you guys are like buddies. I'm like, cool, dude. Everyone's friends. And it was just
I've known Randy for a while. I've seen him at the track a few times here and there. And it was cool to see him today.
Yeah, it was. He rides a bike good too.
Yeah, he's a good rider.
And his kid, do you know anything about his kid? Ryder Lawrence is like killing it on mountain bikes, downhill and all that. He was like really good on BMX bikes, doing all freestyle BMX, all kinds of stuff. But
did you ever know about Phil Lawrence from the 90s?
I've heard the name, Factory Phil.
That's his brother. He was an incredible dirt bike rider and one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Hopefully you meet him someday.
I think he came on one of Victor's rides.
He was on the Christmas Eve ride. Yeah. I was like, whoa, there's Phil Lawrence, Factory Phil. I hadn't seen this guy for years. Still looking like a stud.
So it's cool to have, like, everyone has these same passions, and it's all connected, so. And
I got a question. Do you work on your own bikes?
I do not.
You do not?
I don't even oil my chain.
That's awesome. Factory.
You're talking moto, right?
Moto.
And
I
know
your
how
dirt
to put
bikes
gas and change oil and change air filter and put graphics on.
That's all you need.
But when it comes to like working on something that breaks or putting tires on, I won't put a tire on.
Gotcha.
I'd rather
that's
pay someone to do it. But like if like it needs like revalves and the shocks and everything, then I have people that I pay, and being sponsored by Coway, I can pretty much get whatever part I need from them, which is awesome. And it's funny too because the Coway comes with Dunlaps, and so I ride for Pirelli. Oh. And so easy way to get tires was like, hey, got a new bike, it's got Dunlaps on it. So the next day I
swap it.
A stack of tires.
Yeah.
Brand new. And who doesn't love fresh?
Oh man.
Oh, it's the best thing. If you ride dirt bikes, you can get tires sent to your house. That is like, that's gold. What's your like riding wise, like you're always pushing the limits and trying to improve and get better. Technique wise, riding right now, what's one thing that you're like thinking about and focusing on and working on to improve your skill on the dirt bike?
Turning. I still feel like I need a lot of work when it comes to turning a dirt bike.
What part of it? Because there's ruts,
going
there's
fast
berms.
Through a turn.
Okay.
Just trusting the rut.
Okay.
Coming in with speed, executing without using the clutch so much because I love to clutch. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to just pull the clutch in and feather it, whatever. But I feel like I have jumping down pretty well. I feel like I can understand what the bike does off each jump. I've learned how to seat bounce a jump. I know what that does. I know how to correct myself in the air. But I feel like people get faster when they learn how to go in and out of a turn quicker.
Jump for show, corner for dough.
Yeah, yeah. And so I believe I still need work with that. And I think with everybody, you know what to do, but you don't do it. Like, so if I'll ride the track, let's say I'll do some hot laps, maybe 2 or 3, I come back and I'm arm pumped. Mm-hmm. It's because I probably wasn't squeezing my tank, and I wasn't breathing.
Holding on a little too tight with the hands, yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that you have to be conscious of. I feel like riding a dirt bike, if you want to perform at your best, and just getting rid of all the mistakes. And I took one lesson once with Rhino, with the Moto Monday crew. We paid for a lesson, and he taught me a bunch of things that I don't necessarily always use, but they're in the back of my mind what I need to do. And it's just remembering that while you're in the moment. But yeah, I mean, ruts are scary, no doubt. You know, they're not easy. And when the track's all rutted out or muddy, you know, you just have to learn how to do it. And I guess the best way to do it is just not to be afraid of it and just attack it. And so, yeah, if anything, I would love to work on speed coming in and out of a turn. That's my goal. Yeah. Oh, and also whipping the bike. I mean, I love the way it looks in the air when people just know how to do a sweet whip, you know, and so it's something that I've always dreamed, like envisioned myself doing that, you know, and so as long as I'm riding, I'm going to still continue to try to get the bike out as much as possible.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
I've seen some Instagram photos with some really good style.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, style's everything when it comes to a sport or activity. I mean, and I know what looks good, and so I want to emulate what I see.
Nice, that's cool. Yeah, the if you like whipping it, like if you're, I'm not really the greatest at whipping it, but you know, being friends with Tyler and just being around the industry for a long time, that if you say you're at a track, right? Like say you go to Kauai or you're at Paula or whatever, and you go there and you go out and you're on the track just doing lap after lap, right? And then, oh, here's the jump. Let me whip again. If you kind of like say you're in the hills, or say you kind of like are like, okay, you can hit that jump over and over again and be like, oh, maybe I need to do this to push it a little further. Maybe I've seen Tyler like really critique his pictures like at home later in the day, you know, after riding it, and he's like, oh, I need to move my leg a little bit like this, or my hand, even my fingers a little bit. And so obviously I'm sure skate's so much like that too. And it's just, it is little changes here.
No,
and there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really depends on how much effort and work you want to put into something.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Time.
It's all about the time, seat time.
Yeah.
And so when I lived up north and rode, I would maybe ride once a month, once every 2 months. And every time I'd come to the track, on my way, my heart would be beating, like I was a little afraid, you know? And so as soon as I moved down here and became a weekend warrior, and even like twice a week I would go sometimes, that all went away because I started to become one with the bike. And so there was a point where I was like, man, this is starting to feel like skateboarding to me. It's starting to get easy, you know, starting to feel comfortable. I can get to the track and visualize the distance and be like, okay, I just got to give it this much, you know?
Yeah.
And it's great to be in that position because it just makes riding more fun, and you look better on a bike, you know, and it's all seat time, you know, and it's like I said, back to what I said before, it's all about your confidence level. And but you know, with anything you could get overly confident and you make a mistake and you pay the price. You know,
and you
broke my femur.
Break your femur.
Yeah, I broke it at Paula, you know, a couple years ago.
How are you doing now? You healing up okay?
Yeah, I mean, it was a clean break, and I got a metal rod in this left leg and then up on my hip. And I was able to get back on the dirt bike and mountain bike in 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so skating took a little bit longer because I feel like skateboarding is a little bit more technical. When it comes to riding one, you can fall off really easy.
Yeah.
You know, so the injury in the leg healed and got back on a mountain bike. And then as soon as I started riding mountain bikes, I'm like, oh, I can ride a dirt bike. I know I can. If I can ride a mountain bike and I can take the bumps and everything, the dirt bike's even smoother, you know? So I got back on 4 months, and then 6 months later, broke my right ankle at Paula, the same track. same place but different track. I broke the femur on the vet track, and then I broke the ankle on the step up, coming up short, wheeling and flipping over the bike, and broke my ankle. It hurt. I was hoping in my mind it was just a because in skateboarding you roll your ankle, and I've rolled my ankles so many times street skating but never broke it.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that it was just a rolled ankle, and then I went a whole week, and finally the swelling wouldn't go down, so I went and got X-rayed, and they said, "Yep, you broke your ankle." And also I've seen this other little injury back here. We can scope that out and clean it up, and I'm like, yeah, I did that about a year before I did my femur, and that's when I met Mike Emery at Jared McNeil's.
Yeah.
We were shooting photos. I overshot a double and landed with my foot on the peg and hot pocketed it. Oh. And so I hurt my ankle, and they saw that in the X-ray, which was incredible.
Oh, wow.
And they said, like, your foot's it's not straight, it's a little off, and we can clean that up if you want to come back for surgery. And I had just gotten surgery, my first surgery ever on my femur, and it was through the COVID thing. And I'm like, man, I do not want to go back in the hospital. So I let this thing heal, crooked, and I never fixed that. So I had to learn how
that much. You're like, I ain't going to that hospital in COVID,
it kind
dude.
of crazy that like your dirt bike hobby is maybe more dangerous than your profession of skateboarding? Doesn't it seem...
Well, it's as dangerous as you want to make it.
Yeah.
Like, I can make skateboarding very dangerous.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know what I mean?
That's true.
And I've gotten taken out in the early 2000s on like gnarly handrails that I tried. And so you can make it really dangerous depending on what you're trying. And the one thing I learned about my whole thing about the injuries with the moto is it made me realize how technical skateboarding is and how my confidence level has to be way higher to ride a skateboard. So it made me more fearful of skateboarding. I was never really afraid I am now with skating than it was until I broke my femur and my right ankle and had to like get back on, like learning how to walk, learning how to run, learning how to get back on. And even though I've broken my femur and my ankle dirt bike riding, I'm not afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think skateboarding has kind of taught me that. It's like, you risk injury, but you can heal and you can get back on it. And I felt like, well, that's the same thing as like dirt bike riding. Mm-hmm. But it takes a special person mind thought process of like want to put yourself in that position. Because I know mountain biking is just as gnarly. You could break your collarbone super easy, get knocked out. And would you say like, what's more dangerous, mountain biking or dirt bike riding? You know what I mean?
You can make them equally.
You can die doing both, and so people would give me a lot of crap about like, man, you need to get off, you need to get off the dirt bikes and it's affecting your skating and everything. And then sure enough, here Tony Hawk breaks his right femur on his own ramp skateboarding. Yeah. Which I would never thought that someone could break their femur skating. I never heard of that. Mm. And then another pro skateboarder named Kevin Staub, a year later, broke his femur on the same ramp that I skate all the time. Mm-hmm. So, you just make a mistake, you can break your femur doing anything.
You mentioned handrails. Do you still have the record for longest handrail? 44 stairs.
I don't know, man. I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff.
I've seen some long ones.
I've seen some really long ones.
Yours is pretty gnarly. It's pretty steep.
Maybe board slide, yeah, but I've seen guys 50-50, way longer handrails than I've ever
I think you might
tried.
still have board
Dude,
slide.
I seen you board slide the longest rail on that Thrasher video the other day. I'm like,
that's probably the
I don't
one.
think I've seen someone board
it was
slide that thing like
the one
that.
at Burnell School in San Jose. It was 22 stairs in length, but they were double stairs, so it was equivalent to 44 stairs. So
yeah.
Just a straight handrail going down and just balancing on it.
And again, like the style, the stomp, everything was just boom. I'm like, dude, every time, just boom. Like,
thank you.
Yeah.
And then it's the best feeling ever, for sure.
Yeah. I got to bring up the half cab a little bit.
Sure.
So
we're all wearing them.
These shoes,
Where are your half cabs, bro?
Hey, he's not wearing them right now.
bro. These things are the most comfortable Vans I've ever worn, and I don't know why. I've
Yeah.
just never had a pair.
That's
I always
awesome.
had like low top
Yep.
style. I actually had. I might have even been before this was out, but when
Yeah.
I was a kid in elementary school, I had like when they were this high,
Yeah.
and they were the suede. They had that green and red, and but man, these things are good, and they were really good to ride mountain bikes in.
Yeah.
I always
That's all I
ride in-
ride is half cabs on mountain bikes.
Yeah, I've just been wearing slip-ons. Like
Yeah.
I like
Oh, wow.
wearing just slip-ons, and then
Yeah.
when I started wearing these, the sole was a little thicker, like a little more
Yeah.
protection on the side. I'm like, oh, so then I think you did a little, you did a little research on this thing, and it's the maybe like the longest running signature shoe, like.
Pretty much, yeah.
Maybe-
My first shoe came out in 1989. I was the first pro skateboarder to have a signature shoe on Vans. And then, 3 years later, a lot of street skaters were cutting the shoe down. And so I had them made that way. And then we renamed the shoe the half cab, like half of the Caballero high top.
Gotcha.
And that came out in 1992. And it's been in the Vans line since then, so it's been over 30 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, is it Michael Jordan or is it the half cab and the cat? And I think
It would be
you
Jordans because I rode Air Jordans
Chin.
and Animal Chin
Yeah.
in '86. So, and I think by me wearing these Jordans and wearing Converse and wearing Pumas in the mid '80s, it got Vans' attention, and saw that we were having photos in the magazine of wearing shoes other than Vans. So they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be sponsored by them in 1988, and I would get paid a salary. And not very many people were getting paid by shoe companies, and so they approached me, and I said, "Yeah, if you want to pay me a salary, I'll ride for Vans."
I read somewhere $800 a month.
Yep.
Plus 75 cents a shoe pair sold, something like that.
Yeah, it was a sliding scale.
Yeah.
You know,
you got the more you sold, the less you got.
Yeah.
And then you asked Lance Mountain.
Yeah.
And he said you can get screwed over and make a lot of money, or you can get screwed over and make no money, something like that.
Yeah. So Vans. So what was interesting was the fact that I had already been pro, 8 years prior to that, and I had a signature board. So it was a set royalty. I got $1 a board. So if I sold 10 boards, I got $10. If I sold 1,000 boards, I'd make $1,000. So it was a huge incentive to help promote the board and make more. But when Vans approached me, their CEO at the time, they were probably reluctant of even giving a skateboarder a signature shoe because no one had ever done that. But they had this sliding scale of the royalty, which it didn't make sense to me because their whole analogy was the more shoes I sold, the less royalty I got. And I said, well, why would you want to do that? And they're like, well, if the shoe sells, it's not because of your name, it's because we make a great product. So we should benefit from that, not you. And so I didn't want to sign the contract. I was like, that's the dumbest thing ever. And it was an honor and flattered to get approached and say, hey, we want to give you a signature shoe. But I'm like, no, I'm not signing that contract. It doesn't make sense to me. So they kept bugging. And then all of a sudden I had this conversation with a teammate named Lance Mountain. And he's like, you can look at it two ways. You could make no money and not get ripped off.
And not get ripped.
Or get ripped off and make a lot of money. And I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Okay. So I signed the contract. And so for 3 years, I got ripped off and made a lot of money. And then
new CEO or something.
Yeah, new CEO came in 1993, a year after the half cab came out. And they were moving their production from the U.S. to Korea. And where all the other shoes are made, all the athletic sports shoes like Nike and Puma and Converse. And so Vans was going overseas, and they wanted to renegotiate my contract. And I said, I want $1.25 per pair flat. And they said yes. And then that's when I started making new models, and that's when I started making the royalty that I should have gotten deserved when I first signed with them in 1989.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
nice work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So-
like how about boards? Kind of like decks. Like when did you start making?
I got my first signature skateboard when I was 15. I had just turned pro in 1980, and then in 1981, I got my first signature model.
But the second graphic is the one you wanted. The first graphic on your first board. Weren't that stoked on it?
No, so Stacy Peralta had an idea of calling our team the Bones Brigade, and he had an idea for Mike McGill, who was my teammate, and we were pretty much the same age, and we were turning pro at the same time. His was a fighter jet. And then Alan Gelfin, who came before us, who invented the Ollie, his was a tank. And so they wanted mine to have some kind of like military feel. And so they had this, I have a photo of it actually on my phone, someone sent me, where they have a bomber plane with the like a silhouette of a skull and a propeller behind it. And so they saw that in an old photo, and they wanted to take that and make that my graphic. And I wasn't stoked on it at all. And they made a couple boards with it on, and they were like, "Hey, here's your board. Are you excited?" They surprised me with it. I'm like, "That's cool." And then they wanted to shoot an ad, and I was 15 at the time, so I was like, "Okay, I'll shoot the ad. I'm going to get an ad. I'm not going to say no to it." Yeah. And as soon as the ad came out, I'm like, "Yeah, I really don't want that."
But you're 15, and so you're like, I'm not stoked, and the artist in you comes out, and you're just like
doing your thing, making your calls.
Well, I mean, I had already been riding a board called the Ray Bones Rodriguez Skull and Sword. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's very three-dimensional. You know, the skull, and there's a sword, and it just looked better. You know, than this flat. You know, this really flat one-dimensional graphic, and I thought that the artist there at Powell could do a lot better. So I had to think of something. What would represent me well? And you know, I love Chinese food, and I would always see the zodiac or whatever, the calendar, the Chinese calendar, and every year, there's like a dog, a rabbit, you know, a cow, and then there's a dragon, a serpent, and so I'm born 1964, year of the dragon. Wow, I'm like, wow, a dragon would be sick, you know. So I ended up having a friend draw up a mystical dragon with wings, and then we sent it to Powell, and then their artist Court Johnson redrew it and kept redrawing until he presented something for me that I liked, and it was a dragon on top of a bearing with my name Caballero on it, and then we just went with that. And
you've had a dragon in your graphic ever since?
Yeah, because the second graphic was a Chinese dragon that a friend drew, and then we just kind of kept going with that theme. Yeah. We thought the theme worked because I had that board, that same graphic for 5 years. I never changed it. I just changed the shape of my board, but the graphic always kind of stayed the same because it was a very iconic, strong graphic. Yeah. And it wasn't until like the early 90s where people were changing their graphics every month, you know? Yeah. And just got kind of diluted. And so like in the early 80s, with Santa Cruz skateboards, Powell skateboards, Vision, GNS, they'd always have these iconic graphics that would last, you know, and they wouldn't change them so quick. They wouldn't turn them over. And so I think some of the companies kind of diluted that whole look, you know, in the sport. And so now, fast forward, you know, 40 years later, these graphics are still iconic and people remember them, and they're still selling because it was very important look at that time, and that's the one thing I don't really understand about the motocross industry that kind of bums me out is that these riders, there's no loyalty on both sides. Yeah. There's no loyalty for the rider. There's no loyalty for the company who supports them. They just switch teams like. Someone has an idea. Hey, we don't want to sponsor this pro racer anymore, so we're not signing you. Or
it's cutthroat.
Yeah, and a rider would be like, "Well, I don't want to ride for that company because this other company is going to offer me more money, so I'm just going to quit." And I've seen certain iconic racers over the years almost ride for every single manufacturer out there.
Well, Sexton he was Monster, Honda, everything, and now he's Red Bull. Just like boom.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
The next day he was that.
Yeah, and so these racers are still great racers, and they're still fast. But I don't understand why a company would be like, I don't want to support James anymore. We're gonna go get this other guy. And I just don't understand. Like, why are you gonna take money from this guy and give it to this other guy that hasn't really proved himself? And then so James goes into another company, which another rider left that company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
true.
like
It's
a
musical
like a
chairs,
revolving
yeah.
door,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I don't understand their whole mentality about that. And so you can't connect a rider. Maybe in their heyday of their championships, you can be like, yeah, this guy won so many championships with this team. But other than that, there's no loyalty. I don't understand it.
I mean, that's how it's always.
Do you guys understand it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I think the last one to kind of be really authentic in himself was like Jeremy with his bubble helmets and the goggles that we have here.
Yeah.
And like
Ryan Dungey with KTM. I mean,
that was a long going thing, and he's still doing it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Villapoto.
But before that, he
with
was
Cowie.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking. Yeah, so God, who would I?
But before
Carmichael would be maybe Honda. I don't know.
No,
before
'cause then he went to
Dungey-
Suzuki,
Yeah.
and
now
Dungey
he's with
was a-
Triumph as an
Yeah.
ambassador.
Yeah.
So watch
and
out.
Dungey was a Suzuki rock star. Yeah. So it's
No, it's
yeah,
how it's like
happening.
we're kind of diluted to it because that's how it's just always been in our
Yeah.
sport. But you're probably like, what's up with these guys? Every 2 seasons, just a full on new deal.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it is. It's
I mean-
weird. And we recycle guys. We
Yeah.
don't get rid of them. We just recycle them
Just
to a
recycle
new
'em.
team.
Yeah.
See if they'll become a different person on
Yeah.
the new team.
Yeah.
They don't usually.
Give us those results we're
I
looking
need
for,
a new gear. I'll be better.
or you're out of here.
Figure out. Yeah, I know.
But Cooper Webb looks good back on Yami.
I like that.
Yeah, or sometimes they leave home and then they come back a few
Yeah.
years later. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know. That's how it's always been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you prioritize your time? What's your if you could go to art class or go paint with your friends, or
Yeah.
go skating, or go work on your dirt bike in the what's your go-to? Like, what do you put up near the top of your time spent? What's your favorite?
I think whatever's suffering at the time.
What,
I think
whatever
whatever's-
needs attention.
Whatever needs attention, I think I put more attention to that
Mm-hmm.
because I try to balance out my life of all the activities and all the things in my life. And I feel like if something's lacking, then I feel like that's what I need to work on. So it changes all the time. Obviously, if I put more time into motocross, I'm going to get better at that. Then the skateboarding part's going to suck.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do art and get better at that, that's going to start lacking. So it really depends on what gets presented in front of me. Like we talked to Taka today while riding mountain bike saying like, hey, Cab, when is that graphic going to be done, for Thrill Seekers that, we're doing a collab together. And, so he reminded me like I need to get back on that. Work with Austin Prita.
I know Austin Prita pretty well.
Yeah.
I love the guys at Thrill Seekers. I love that what he's built and
he's
done.
great.
It's awesome.
And he's always been a huge supporter of my riding, and he's always hooked me up with Thrill Seeker seats whenever I needed it, And so he's been a good resource of meeting, hanging out, and watching a company that he started grow and become something. And I always like to support the little guy as well, as well as be associated with bigger companies, So I always try to spread that love. But when it comes to prioritizing my life, obviously, I became a Christian in 2005, and so I should prioritize my faith because I feel like my faith is what is the foundation of my decisions and making proper decisions and in my life. And if I stray away from God and scriptures and knowing how to live my life in a most humble, loving way, then I can make bad choices. Obviously it's not going to affect my skill level, but it's going to affect my relationships with people, my connection, how I present myself, how I talk to people, how I respond, because how you respond to things is really important. It can go bad,
Yeah.
really bad.
That's beautiful. That stuff you just said, man.
Yeah.
Really, like you post stuff on your Instagram. I've been
Yeah.
following you for a long time, and a lot of the things you post, like I'm like, yeah, thanks. Like the words you use, the
You're like
metaphors you put in, it's just-
consciously balanced.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe you.
I try, and I do stray away from my faith, and I feel like when I do, it's lacking, and my life is lacking. But when I put God first, so you were saying, what do I prioritize? You know, God's at the top of everything,
Yeah.
even my family, and my passions and my profession. You know, because He's the one that keeps me balanced and makes me realize and understand what's important and what's not. You know, because a lot of people could prioritize things that are meaningless, you know. And like I said, I didn't grow up in the faith, and so I'm a late bloomer. You know, I got saved when I was 41, you know, so I lived my whole life not going to church and just living the life and without God or His guidance. Until I really, really felt like I needed Him to be a part of my life. And since I've done that, I love life even more, and I'm even more involved with everything that I do, but I have a different outlook, and I have a different way of approaching things. And like I said, dealing with people and having relationships. And God's really taught me how to let go of things and not let things control me, and be things that are going to put me in a position where I'm frustrated or sad because this goes away and this goes away. And God's really just shown me what's more important in life, and achievements and things that we accumulate and collect aren't really that important. They're fun to have and fun to share with people, but materialistic things are really meaninless, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But my faith in God is definitely the most important thing, because that's what sustains me, and that's what makes me want to wake up every day and attack the world and just live a good life. But you know, there's a struggle there always. You know, there's a struggle of like living the old way that I lived before I came to faith, and what's expected of me. And I feel like having kids has really taught me that my relationship with God is the same relationship that I have with my kids. Is they'll, you know, they're only going to follow your way until they feel like, hey, you know what? I'm my own person. I'm going to make my own decisions. And that's what I love about God, is the fact that He gave us free will, the ability to not choose Him and to push Him away. I mean, that's how much He loves us, you know, and that's how much I love my kids. You know, I love my kids whether they listen to me or not. Does it make me frustrated and pissed off? Of course, because I care about them, you know, and I will always love them, but I want what's best for them. And so what people don't understand about faith and God is God doesn't want to control you. He just wants to protect you, because we are our own worst enemies. We make bad decisions based on who we're influenced by and who we're around. And you might not even know it. And sometimes you influence yourself. You have your own thoughts that came from somewhere, and like, I think I'm doing the right thing. And then later on, you're like, man, why did I do that? You know? And so I feel like God's got my back, you know? He's got my back.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I feel like it's pretty rad when guys get on the podium and they're like, yeah, I want to thank, you know, the man above. You know, I love that, you know? But I also want to say, like, you don't want to thank God because you won.
Yeah.
If anything, you want to thank Him because He kept you safe.
There you go. Yeah. Don't give Him the W. Just thanks for
It's
the
not about the
safety.
W. It's about, hey, I get to walk away from this race and race again next week.
Yeah.
And if they want to be thankful for anything, it should be that they're still blessed that they have legs to walk on and hands to grab things and, you know, and feel and yeah. So like when I broke my femur, I didn't care about anything else but walking. because I couldn't walk. And so I didn't care if I ever rode a skateboard ever again. I don't care if I ever rode a dirt bike or anything. But when you take the ability from not being able to walk again, it's huge. Like, it's like, man, what's really important to me? Well, going to the bathroom by myself, you know, and be able to walk on my own. That's all I wanted. Yeah. That's what was my main focus. I didn't care about what was taken away from me, but the ability to walk, that was most important to me.
Yeah. When something like that, when you get a flash or a moment where you can look at it like that.
Yeah.
I had a crazy injury surfing a couple of years ago. I hit my head on the bottom of the ocean and didn't expect it to be so shallow.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of a stinger before. And what happens, I hit my head so hard on the bottom. And I went paralyzed from the neck down.
No way. For how long?
In the water.
Oh,
so I went to swim to my board.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, that was a hard hit, you know? And I just like, wow. And I like went to swim to my board and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm freaking paralyzed. And then I'm like, well, use your arms to swim to your board.
Yeah.
And I couldn't use my arms. I couldn't feel them, nothing.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, my head is above water. So I was taking breaths to float myself and screaming for my life. I'm like, because if I go under, and luckily my wife was in the water with me, but her and this guy drugged me out. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I'm done, man.
Yeah.
I'm paralyzed. And they had to drag me out. I was laying on the beach. I got life flighted, the whole deal.
Wow.
And it ended up like started at my toes as I was getting put into the ambulance and came all the way up, and I was able to get my feeling back. But then I was in the most severe pain I've ever been in. And spent the whole night in the hospital through CAT scans, all the stuff, thinking that I had a really bad broken neck. And what it ended up being was a level 10 stinger is what they called it, you know? And I'm like, level 10 stinger. But so then when the doctor told me that the next morning at 11 a.m., I was like, what? I'm like, I'm on, dude. Like, let's go. And like, at first thing, I'm like, let's get up, let's start walking. And it's that feeling that you're talking about. I just was like, as long as we can walk, and it breaks my heart. Like, I have friends that haven't been that lucky, and it's just, so I feel what you're saying, man. And it's a valuable thing, and all ties back. I was praying. I had never prayed and felt so connected with God when I was just laying there. Like, I'm like, this is all I have right now is that. And I was just, I just feel like it had something to do with it in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple miracle, you know. Miracles are huge and they're small, you know, and we don't recognize them. But the fact that, you know, some people, you know, it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
And typically, you know, when we get ourselves in situations, it's because it's either our bad choice or someone else's bad choice. So that's why I don't believe in karma, because in karma, it says like, you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad things. I believe in reaping and sowing because good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. So where does karma line up for all that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always feel it's about choice. Good and so choices. Whether it's good choices, it's always good choice. It's our free will. And sometimes other person's free will affect your life in a huge way, positive and negative.
And you make choices. I've thought about that a lot. You make choices every day, all day. And it can be a variety of choices. So if you protect your choices and make wise ones, and we can't do it all the time, but when you feel it clicking, you can feel it, and it's good to have that. One thing I wanted to kind of change the subject a little bit, but
before you change the subject,
keep going.
Well, I just want to talk about. He said choices, right? Yeah. When we were riding mountain bikes today, we were making so many line choices constantly. Going down the hill.
Boom, your mind. That rocky section at the top, I was right behind you.
I'm going to go this way. And sometimes you go the wrong way and you made a bad choice and you're over the bars, broken collarbone, broken whatever. And it's based on, you know, that quick second.
Split the second choices. Yeah. But what I wanted to, I always like see on your Instagram also, you're always posting really cool salads
Oh.
and like cool food.
The cab salad.
So like, dude, everybody in the world eats food multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Right. And the older I've gotten more particular with my food and what
That's
I
great.
eat. And
You have to, man, because your metabolism changes.
yeah.
You're not working as hard. You're not exercising. You're sitting down. You're either at a computer, and it's nutrition and exercise is very important as soon as you get older. Yeah.
So your diet, like I see these salads, they look amazing. They got strawberries on them, the whole deal. And how's your diet? Do you kind of like stick to the salad thing,
It
or up and
fluctuates.
down? So you're like, I'll go get a California burrito, but then
It
I'll back it up with a
fluctuates.
cab salad.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'll go back to my faith. Sometimes I want to live in the world, and then sometimes I want to live spiritually. It's the same thing with diet. Depending on where you are on the scale or how you look, you're going to change when you can see. And change happens really slowly. So you have to be wise enough to catch it before it gets too late, And that's why there's a lot of wisdom in Scripture, because there's nothing new in the world that hasn't happened back in the day. So these scriptures have a lot of stories of how people acted and how they ended up. It just happens to us in just different environments. But you can indulge in something and that you love, and it might not be the best choice for you. And then like 10 years later, you're like, oh man, like my teeth. I spend so much money on going to the dentist because I loved sugar when I was a kid, and I didn't care. And then so I've had a lot of cavities. I've had a lot of crowns, and and now in my older age, I'm spending thousands and thousands of dollars getting dental work. Do I still love sugar? Of course. Who doesn't? Is it bad for you? Yeah, it's very bad for you. It causes problems in your body, but it tastes so good.
Oh, it's so good.
So it's that balance, of knowing what the right thing to do, but listening to that.
Yep.
And that's where it comes back to the free will. It's like, I know what I'm supposed to do right, but I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I have a quick little story about just my personal life and about choices.
Mm-hmm.
So
there we go.
Last year I was in a horrible relationship with a younger girl that I had no business starting a relationship with. It wasn't going to go anywhere. I was in a dead-end job that I hated. I was living in my van.
Mm-hmm.
I was just not stoked. And so one day I was like, many days I was thinking about I need to change. And where does it start? With one good choice.
Yeah.
So I leave my kitchen job and I have a feeling and I have a faith and a vibe, and I go to the bar here at Omni La Costa because I've bartended for years.
Yeah.
And I go apply just on a feeling, on a trying to make a better choice for myself.
Yeah.
And I go there, hand him my resume, meet the manager. He's a Jeremy McGrath fan. I happen to know Jeremy. I get hired on the spot because
awesome.
We connect on Moto.
Yep.
Never even talk about if I can make a Jack and Coke. Like, doesn't even care.
Jeremy, you're hired.
Yeah, I'm like, it's Jeff. He's like, whatever. I'm going to call you Jeremy. I'm like, all right, fine. But I actually end up introducing him to Jeremy 2 days later. Jeremy's there golfing with my dad.
That's
all comes
awesome.
together. Connect. All right, one good choice just turned into 5 positive things. Smile on my face. Okay, crap. I still live in my van. How am I going to change that?
Yeah.
Well, crap. I'm still dating a young. So the relationship naturally just gets broken off.
Yeah.
Devastating. Whatever. I knew it was coming. Stupid choice. Had to write it out and deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
So I'm still. But now I'm still. I got this better job, but I'm still in my van. How am I going to get out of there?
Yeah.
Stop partying. Stop staying in hotels. Stop wasting your hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Choice.
Yeah.
So I finally get that taken care of.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's January 18th or whatever today.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's birthday. And
Better
I'm
remember it.
bartender at Omni La Costa Resort, union job,
That's
fully
awesome.
taken care of,
Yeah.
full of bennies. I live on the 4th fairway on Omni La Costa Golf Course. Got a condo 2 months ago. Just all I had to do was make the right choices.
Right.
I literally, and I have a podcast with one of my best friends in the world.
Yeah, buddy.
And Blake here, my other friend, and like, none of this would have happened without like the first time I made the right choice, and then just kept
Right.
building it.
Yeah.
And now I have a life again that I love, and like, but I made bad choices, and it took me straight down.
Yeah.
You got to
To
stay
where-
on it.
yeah.
You got to stay consistent and stay on it. And
Yeah.
But it's
you're
just,
you're
And
you're
so-
an awesome dude. So
choice
that's
after
Yeah, and then
choice.
sometimes people will, like friends will maybe give you suggestions or notice, hey, you know, and we don't necessarily listen to these voices or these people. You don't trust them. And normally, like, you're going to do what you trust if you have faith in. And so you're going to follow that, you know, and it's really who you put your trust into. That's who you're going to follow, and that's who you're going to serve, you know.
yeah.
And for me, I put my faith in God, you know.
Well, yeah, that was some awesome wisdom you gained over the years and just shared with us. So thanks for that, man. And
Yeah. Thank you for having me on the show and
That's
let me share my life story with you.
Heck
Hell yeah.
We appreciate it.
and
Yeah.
then this jersey here, this is a vintage jersey or new? What's this?
It's kind of
it's
like a
older.
design that Fox Racing came out with a couple years ago, and it came with a pant, a glove, actual helmet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
A whole kit, you know. And I was like, I saw that Jeremy had brought some stuff to donate and raffle off for you guys, and I'm like, oh, I have a bunch of jerseys in my closet, and that one stood out to me to donate to you guys. And
Nice.
Yeah, I think sweet.
Yeah, we'll thanks for bringing that. Let's get you to sign this thing right now.
yeah, you're welcome, for sure. Do you want to hold it tight?
Yeah, I'll hold it tight.
And what, Kyle? We're gonna raffle this thing off to a listener. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. That'll be a lucky
Yeah,
winner
Fox
right there.
Fox Racing has supported me ever since I got into riding dirt bikes, you know, and so they've always had my back when it came to riding gear,
Yeah.
you know, because John Fox was a skateboarder,
Uh-huh.
you know, one of the brothers,
Yeah.
and so he's always, you know, sent me gear, and they've always put my name, and my friend Pat Schutte was the one that picked my number 360.
Yeah, I always thought you've had that for a while.
Yeah, and that was based on the trick that I, you know, created in
Yes.
1980, the Fakey Ollie 360
Le Caballero.
Caballero. So I have a cool idea for this year. This year I turned 60 in November. So I was telling Fox that I wanted to have a jersey that had my number in the back, but the 60 be a different color than the 3.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
so
just put that 60 in gold.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I
that
thought it'd
would
be a
be
cool
rad.
idea to
Yeah.
do that for the graphics on my bike, and then on so you know, I could be running it for a couple months this year.
Yeah.
You know.
No, it's iconic. It was a perfect. I don't know if it was a marketing move, but when you see 360 on the track, you know who it is.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
definite marketing move for sure. And you know, and I'm an artist myself, so I always like to connect myself with things that are iconic, you know, and things that kind of relate. And so the 360 relates to skateboarding, you know, the Cab 360.
And
know.
you invented front side board slide.
Yeah, so I was the first one to ever. So the frontside rock and roll, which is the opposite of a backside rock and roll,
Yeah.
you turn away coming frontside, was created by a gentleman named Eddie Alguera. And so I learned that trick by watching him in the magazines, because before the video age, we had our only connection to skateboarding was the magazines that come out and the pictures that we saw in the magazines. In the sequences, there was no film,
Oh, just
And-
like the.
just the sequences. yeah. And so you could see how a trick was performed, and that's how I learned tricks, by looking in the magazine. Or if you saw a skateboarder live, you could see what they were doing. And so What were you talking about right now?
The frontside
The
board
front
slide.
So the
Side
frontside
board
board slide. So
slide.
so when I learned the frontside rock and roll, I just wanted to take it a little bit further. No one had ever slid. There had been rock and rolls and backside board slides, but no one had ever slid a frontside one. So I kept working on it at my home park, and finally slid a block, and then I learned how to slide 2 blocks, and then I took it to the Pro Bowl, and I added it into my routine, and so I was the first one to get a photo in the magazine doing a frontside board slide at Marina Del Rey in Los Angeles.
Is that how you got like the trick? Is if you did it and it got published in a magazine, that's how you got to name it, and
Pretty
that's
much.
your trick if you do that.
Pretty
You
much?
can't
That's
just
how you.
say, "Oh, I did it."
Yeah, you owned it.
Well, no one who would see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
like if you're alone by yourself inventing tricks,
like
who's
Rodney
there to
Mullen.
see it?
Is that what Rodney Mullen
Yeah,
did?
people only see it when you actually present it to, like, maybe in a show or in a contest or even having it documented. So we always would try to, like, learn tricks and invent tricks and then get them documented somehow. So you could say, like, you were the first one to do this.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know what knee sliding is, right?
Mm-hmm.
With their knee pads, with the caps and everything. So when I first started skateboarding, the first pads that I got was a hockey helmet from a sporting goods store
Soccer.
and a soccer pads for elbow and knees. And that was my skateboard protective equipment. And that's what I wore at the first skateboard park that I ever went to.
Yeah,
You
and there's
know?
an epic photo of you doing a fully inverted hand plant and your hockey helmet and your
Yeah.
soccer pads, and it just looks epic still.
Yeah, and so that's all I knew until I got to the skateboard park and I said, "Oh, there's other helmets out there. There's Narcons, there's ProTech, and then there's these pads called Rectors that have caps on them." And so I got those. And actually before Rectors with caps on it, there was a company called Narcon, which made a really thin pad, but it had a plastic cap on it. So we would put those Narcon pads on top of the Rectors, what were thicker, and that was extra protection. But I felt like the cap. Why would someone put plastic on your knee?
Yeah.
Is that to, like,
So you can,
like in case you fell, the knee pad didn't fall off and you kind of slid? So I learned to use that as my advantage. So when I'd fall, I'd just slide on my knees. And so every time I do a trick, I'd go to my toes and to my knees, and that's how I'd that's how I'd bail and everything. And so I was going through plastic cups a lot. So I'd get recaps and I'd glue them on until I had like a stack of them on there. So I could just kind of knee slide out of everything. And then all of a sudden I'm looking in the magazine once again, and I see this pro skateboarder named Brad Bowman, and there's a sequence of him dropping in from a half pipe and going to his knees and knee sliding, and it said the art of knee sliding. And I'm like, I've already been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And now there's an article called The Art of Knee Sliding. And I'm like, so I was already doing something that I had never seen before anyone do it.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, who knows who invented that, but I know that I was already doing that based on the pads, the equipment, and utilizing them that way
a couple years before.
to bail.
Yeah.
You know, because people would just run things out or tuck and roll to
Yeah.
get out of something.
Probably get hurt.
And so the knee slide, when it became like something that I adapted to learning how to skate, it helped me progress to that next level. So I was able to fly out of a ball and knee slide out to safety. And that made it more comfortable and it gave me more confidence. So me learning how to bail really taught me how to understand skateboarding and what I was capable of doing. And I feel like it's helped me out crashing on a dirt bike.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to fall, you know, tuck and roll or whatever. And I've gotten out of some crazy situations being a skateboarder and a street skater at the same time of knowing how to bail off my dirt bike.
Yeah.
You know,
That definitely helps
helps.
to know how to bail. If you don't know how to crash or bail on your own dirt bike, it's going to be bad.
yeah.
And so it definitely is a benefit to have that
Yeah.
for sure. Well, dude, Cab, it's been freaking amazing
Yeah.
having you
It's been
here.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm stoked to be able to share whatever knowledge or wisdom that I've gained. I mean, that's what it's all about. You know, it's all about
Yeah.
the gifts that we've been given and just sharing them with others and let people experience the same things and same enjoyment that I have. That's, I'm working on a documentary right now, a life documentary, and I want it to be special,
Can't wait till that comes out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I just don't want it to be about my accolades.
Accolades.
I want it to be about all my accolades and my trophies and what I've invented and created in the sport, but I want it to be about inspiring people to be better and having confidence in yourself and knowing that a little kid, that grew up in a broken home, made something out of his life based on the choices and the confidence that he had with himself and not taking no for an answer, and being stubborn and having a goal and a vision and a passion and want to be successful at it. And I've adapted that same, attitude with everything. So, if people feel like I'm a well-rounded person, it's because of the hard work that I put into it. And that goes, and I've had this conversation on the Whiskey Throttle podcast with David Pingrease. Like, I don't believe in natural talent. I believe that everybody works super hard at being successful and nothing comes easy.
And like, what do you want? Like, if you want it, you got to work hard and go get it.
Work hard. And no one's in your body, so no one knows what you're thinking 24/7 or how hard. People only see the outside, whether it's, what you present, but if they have to be around you 24/7 to know how you function and your thoughts. And like, there'd be times I'd be sleeping and thinking about skateboarding and thinking about what can I do next, and waking up and being supercharged about going to the park and spending all day there by myself, nobody else around, working on a trick, falling, getting back up, with no one around. It takes a very dedicated, passionate person to put the work in that nobody sees. And where it comes to like learn how to play guitar, I spent hours by myself playing guitar. Learn how to be a good artist. If you would have seen my art before that you see now, it wasn't as good. I can look back. I've kept a lot of my art, and I look back and I'm like, wow, I've really progressed. And the more confident you get in something, the easier it becomes. So like for art, it's easy for me now because I'm so confident in it. I know what my hand can do with a brush. I know what my hand can do with a pencil. It's just visualizing things and then putting them on paper. Same with guitar. I know how tones work now. I know how it is to work with a band and to create music. When I first picked up a guitar, I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I spent hours and hours practicing by myself in my room, learning songs and learning how to hear music. And one of the greatest things that was ever told to me was told to me from George Harrison from the Beatles. I went to his house in 1989 with the Bones Brigade and had dinner at his house and met his son.
Wow.
And he heard that me and Tommy Guerrero were musicians. And, I was just being humble. And I'm like, yeah, I've played music all my life, but I don't know how to read music. And, I just play by ear. And then George Harrison says, same with me. I don't know how to read sheet music. I just play by ear. And so that gave me a self, like, I was like stoked, I was like, wow, This person who's super famous, been in famous bands, learned how to play music by ear and doesn't read music. So
Same as you.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
that was a very special moment for me, and it gave me even more confidence that I'm doing the right thing.
Nice.
Hell yeah. You sure are.
Yeah, we think so. Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry for going on a tangent.
No.
dude, I'll let you
Good stuff.
keep going.
Yeah.
Everything leads to one thing,
Sure.
right?
Bleed it into us. All right, man. Well, let's have a good night, dude. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch and go rip mountain bikes.
Sure.
I got to get back on a dirt bike one of these days. You know what? We should go on a trail ride. And my buddy's been going on these trail rides in Temecula. It looks amazing on
sick.
those off-road bikes. And you can go way deep and back and go to the Stagecoach Cafe and all these
I'd
places.
love to. Yeah, I'm going to convert
rip
my
it up.
old 450 into a trail bike because
Cool.
I had a 250
Yeah.
and it had a kickstand and it was lowered and it just was way better than bringing my track bike.
Yeah,
because every
it
time I
is way
bring
better.
my track bike trail riding, I can't touch the ground. So
Oh,
once
man.
I came to a stop, I fell over and I would break a lever or puncture like the radiator and bend the shifter,
Yeah.
bend my pipe, and I'm like, man, I need a bike that I can touch the ground at least. And so and hand guards.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna convert my old 2019
Make it perfect.
450,
for that,
make
yeah.
it a trail bike.
I know what you're talking about. I'm only a couple inches bigger than you, I think, and so I've always, when we're trail riding, you got to look for a rock or a
Yeah.
hill that you can lean or something. It's not like you just stop and so I feel you.
Yeah, and having a kickstand out in the trails is amazing.
Yeah,
To be able to kickstand and put your bike there and
yeah.
not have to
for
lean it
sure.
on something is really cool.
Cool.
Right on.
Ready to wrap her on up.
Yeah. I mean,
Thank you, man.
that was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
dude.
really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Yeah.